Well, this is today's video. In here there should be, if I've got the right box, a Nintendo Game Boy Yellow. I thought it was a Game Boy Colour. It is a Game Boy Colour. Nintendo Game Boy Colour in yellow, so I paid £30, and the description says won't turn on, red light flashes on then off, has had a new switch fitted too. So it's had some work done, which is normally not a good sign, but it might make for an interesting challenge. Now there's no battery cover, but I'm pretty sure I've got a Game Boy Colour battery cover in yellow. It doesn't look in too bad condition. It feels very light. I don't know, I've been working on a normal Game Boy and this feels heavy compared to this. So we'll take a couple of batteries out of here, we'll pop them in. Switches on, red light comes on, and then straight back off. Brilliant. Well, at least we know it's not dirty battery contacts. So let's get it open and find out what's wrong with it. Well, initial impressions, it's nice and clean. Let's take a look underneath the microscope at that switch. It doesn't look too bad. There's a fuse down here. I'll put it in beep mode. That's okay. There's a couple of filters here. They're okay. There's a coil just here. That's okay. Diode here, I'll pop that in diode mode. I'm open that way. And I've got a 0.6 that way, so that looks good. This is the power jack. Now the power jack acts as a switch, so I've got continuity between 2 and 3. Let's check for shorts on this switch. So now, is that correct? Although the switch is right. If the switch is down, continuity. If the switch is up, still got continuity. Let's just check for a short on these. No short on the battery terminals. So I'm going to have to find some information on this switch. Down, I thought down would connect that one and that one, and up would connect that one and that one. I'm not sure what that one is. I'm going to find out which contacts these should be connected to. If I put my multimeter on positive on the battery terminal, I'm not sure if I should have 3 all connected to positive. That doesn't seem right. Right, well I'm at console5.com and you can see from fuse 1 it comes up to pin 3 on the power switch. So I've got continuity from the coil through these filters, through the fuse which works, and the fuse comes up to pin 3 on this power switch. And if I check the schematic, pin 2 should not go anywhere, but for some reason I've got continuity which I don't think I should have, because if I look on the schematic, pin 2 doesn't go anywhere. So I think if it's on, you should have 3 to C. I think that's right. If you switch it off, it connects what looks like the resistor R1 to ground and C. These should be connected up. I don't know why this one's connected up at the same time. Perhaps it doesn't matter because it doesn't go anywhere on the board. So when the switch is on, it connects up 3 to C, which is right. When the switch is off, it connects C to 1, which goes to ground through a resistor. The resistor is R1 750, so Can I check that? Can I put my meter in resistance mode and go from 1 to ground, and I get 716 kilo ohms. So there you go, whatever that means. So the machine's switching on, but there's a short somewhere and it's switching itself off by the looks of it. But I cannot see anywhere else on the board that looks like it's had some work done to it. I think I'll have to take the board out and have a look at this power circuit underneath here. There's a power board under here. I wonder, this might be a bit of a stretch, but I wonder if it's the screen. Oh look, there's a load of flux under here. That can't be from the factory, surely. I think I'll put my bench power supply on, hooked up to these two, and see if it gives us any more information. That's my bench power supply set to 3 volts and 1 amp. And I'll switch that on, turn the power supply on, and that's what I get. The same little red light flashing, and it takes no amps. It takes 0.02 of an amp and then switches off. I'm just going to clean this up. I don't think that'll make any difference, but I'll rule it out. Exactly the same, just a little flash of a red light there. The power switch seems to be okay, so we'll take these screws out and we'll have a look at the power board. Let's have a closer look at this. There might be a bit of corrosion. I'm sure this is a DC converter. So I'm going to check for shorts on these output pins. Doesn't seem to be. Let's check some caps. That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't seem to be going to ground. I don't know if that one does go to ground. I have a feeling it comes up to a resistor up here. Yeah, it does. Is that right? That's obviously ground, because that's ground. But that one, that doesn't seem right at all. Although that's the same. Got a diode here, 2.7, and the other way is 0.7. I think that's okay. I wonder if I switch this on, I wonder if I'll get voltage on these pins, even if the machine doesn't turn on. I haven't checked fuse 2. That's working. So pin 2 grounds, pin 3 and 4 ground. Might be right. I'll find a pin out for this. Right, so 1 is voltage in, 2 is no contact, 3 and 4 are ground, 5 is 13.6, 6 is 15, I think, and 7 is 5. If I find a ground, have I got anything on 1? I've got 2.98 volts coming in on pin 1. So 7, pin 7, I have got nothing. Pin 6, I've got nothing. And pin, that'll be 5, I've got nothing. That's ground. So I've got no voltage on here, but the machine has switched itself off. So I'm not sure if I should have something. Probably not. So could I put voltage into here, into these rails, forcing it to stay on, and then do a bit of voltage injection on these pins to see if I can find out where the short is? The short's got to be on one of those rails, I would have thought. I might just do that. I might put 1 volt into one of them and see if it draws any amps. That's what I'll do. That's me experimenting, so don't try it at home. Right, so something's switching it off. I don't know what it is. So, like I say, I've got I think it's 5, 15 and 13.6 output from this DC converter. So I'm going to put some voltage into one of them, into one of these, 5, 6 and 7, and I'm going to see if it draws any current, and I might be able to find out which rail is the short. I'm assuming there's a short somewhere, so I might be able to find out which rail it's connected to. So I've got no idea if what I'm doing is going to work. So I'll set my power supply to 1 volt and 1 amp. We'll hook this up. So I've got 1 volt going through pin 5, which is supposed to have 13.6. We'll switch on. So it's 1 volt, but it's not taking any amps. And that is the 2 bottom pins here. So what I'll do is, rather than solder more wires on, I'll just touch each pin with a 1 volt and see if it picks up any amps. Okay, so this is pin 6. We'll put a volt into pin 6, and that's not taking anything. And now we'll put a volt into pin 7. That's taking 0.01. I'm going to turn my voltage up to 2 volts and see if it does anything else. Now that's drawing 0.17. That's still not drawing anything. And that's not drawing anything. So there's only the 5 volts which is actually drawing anything. But it's not drawing anything remotely like a short circuit. Even at 5 volts it's only drawing 0.03 of an amp. That's no good, is it? That's not going to tell us what I need to know. Help? I just better check this before I go any further. This is the DC jack in the bottom. I'm going to have a look on the schematic. Right, yeah, P4 DC jack. So the negative from the battery comes from the contact to pin 2, or is that pin 3, and then comes back out on pin 2. There's negative on the battery terminal. Okay, right. That should come to 3, and it does. And it also comes out to pin 2, which is correct. But if I put this in, so I'm negative on the battery terminal, so that comes to pin 3, and then it joins to pin 2, which it does. So when I put this in, it should break the contact from the battery terminal. So it comes to here, it comes from the battery terminal to pin 3, but it disconnects when I put this in. This jack's working correctly. I could put 3 volts in there and see if it comes on, but I don't think it will. It's worth a try. It's not going to come on, is it? But I'll try it. Doesn't make a difference, and I still get just flash and then off. So I'm going to put the board underneath the scope, and I'm going to have a look for shorts around the main circuit board here. This looks a bit odd. I've got C39 going to ground on both sides. Why would a capacitor go to ground on both sides? That looks like ground. They both look like ground, to be fair. I just thought it would look a bit strange, that's all. I'm going to have a look on the schematic, see what it does. Well, that's clever, look at that. Split screen. So C39 goes to pin 3 on U7, which is there. But that's shortened to ground. 4 is no contact. Pin 5 is ground. And pin 1 looks like ground. Ground? Yeah, ground, yeah. That should not be shortened to ground, this one. So it could be the capacitor or the chip. So I'm going to take the capacitor off and see if it removes the short. I might have a couple of these chips spare if it is the chip. But let's take that capacitor off first and see if it removes that short. So hopefully it's just this capacitor, and it does appear to be that capacitor. I'm going to try not to lose it. You know what? It might not be a short after all. It might just be a very low rated capacitor. What did my schematic say? 1 UF. I'm not getting anything. Oh, it's gone. Uh-oh. That was lucky. Now I've done it again. 1.244, 1.23 microfarads. So I think that's okay. That's a shame. Let's put it back on just to make sure. I may as well just put it back into continuity mode. What's happened there? And now I've got no continuity. I'll wait for it to cool down, but now I've got no continuity. That's strange. What's happened there? I'm going to plug that in. Switch on. Nothing. Still nothing. But now I'm not getting a little light. is that capacitor on the pad properly. I'm just going to reflow that capacitor back down. That capacitor has definitely flown the coop. Right, I don't know where that capacitor's gone, but luckily I've got this donor board and I'm going to check C39 and it doesn't give us a short. So I'm going to take this one off and I'm going to be very careful not to lose it. It's a little bit out of whack, but it's on. Now I've just noticed the black lead wasn't plugged into my power supply, so when I tested the old capacitor earlier, I might not have been testing it properly. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to hook them directly up to there. That's my power supply hooked up. I'm going to give it 3 volts and switch on. Still the same. Quick flash and then off. So I'm no further forward. Back to the drone board. I'm getting to a point where I think I should remove this power switch just to check that it's not. Although it seems to be okay. That's ground. That connects that to there when it's off, because that goes to a resistor. And that is on, connecting them two together. Got a short on these 2 pins. Got to work out what they are. Well, it looks like it's pin 49 and 50. Looks like it's pin 49 and 50 and there are test pins. So that's no good. Alright, I'm going to take this DC-DC converter off and have a look at the components on the underside. I've got another board here with a converter on, so I might swap them around. I'll take this one off and I'll see if there's anything on the underside I can check. Right, turn that off. Right, what have I got under here? A little transformer thing. I wonder if this little transformer's working. So I suspect these are in pairs. Looks like I've got one going to here. But where does that one go to? There's one there. Is that supposed to go to there? Is that ground? I think that one is ground, because those should match up. I'm not sure if that's right. Open and a diode 0.7. Open 2.2. 0.6, so there's a diode. And open and 0.6, so there's another diode. And open. Looks like a diode there. 0.6 and open. There's another one. Open and 0.7. Alright, let's put that back on. Look at that. Found me missing cap. I'm in continuity mode. Now I haven't got continuity on it. So that cap must have been okay. I took it off this board. I think I'll just pop it back on there. There you go. That'll hold it in place. Right, so this is a dead board, a donor board. Looking at the schematic, I've got 5 volts comes from the fuse and it goes to pin 3 on the switch. It comes out of C and goes directly to the 5 volt input on the DC to DC converter here, and it should be outputting 5, is that 15 and 13.6 volts. So if I switch on my power supply, right, so if I check this, I should have 5 volts on pin, this is a donor board, So there's me 5 volts on pin 1, and my output pins 2.8. This is definitely me doing up order. Right, I've got 3 volts there. I've got 5 volts coming in. I'll be honest, I'm a bit confused. How have I got 5 volts coming in when I've only got 3 volts on the power supply? Anyways, more on that later. So I've got... No, hang on. I've got round. So there's me 3 volts coming in. Yes? That's me... Right, so 3 volts. Right, I'm going to have to start again because I've completely messed that up. This is our 3 volts coming in. Close enough. This is 5 volts out, 15 volts out, or negative 15 out, and 12.85 out. Now I don't get that on the non-working board, the one I'm trying to fix. So although this DC to DC is different, I'm sure the pins are the same. So I'm going to swap this one out, put it in the non-working board, and see if that fixes it. I think this is the faulty one, so I suspect it's faulty, and this one is the new one, the one that works. Let's put it in and see if it does work. So we'll hook that up to the power supply, and we'll see if it outputs some voltages. Okay, so I should have 3 volts, and I do. I should have, I think it's 5 over here, and I do. And there's my other one, negative 13 or 14, and plus 13, I think that is. That's good. Is me little light on? Yes. Little light's on. Now I'm getting excited. I'll switch off, turn that off. I'll find the screen. Where have I put the screen? Right, here's the original screen. I've taken the buttons out. Is it going to work? Is this going to come on? And is the screen going to be in a good condition? I'm pretty sure I've got a spare screen. Right, power supply. We'll use the power supply again. Positive, negative. We'll turn it off at the switch here. Here we go. Are you ready? What do you think? If this switch is on, I want you to click like. Ah, nothing on the screen. I'll turn it off. I'll take that screen out. The speaker has came off. I could put that back on quickly and see if we get a beep. I don't know if I'll get a beep with the screen off, but I'll try it. Right, switch back on. I got a beep. Listen, you ready? There you go. So it could be just a dirty connector. There was a lot of flux in there. We'll clean this. I'll try again. I probably should have switched it off. Oh, it is off. I have switched it off. I'm not getting anything. Let's see if I've got a different screen. I've got the lid off a Gameboy Colour. I'll try this one. Right, switch on. Yes. Lovely. Oh, me speakers came off again, but I do have the screen on. I could probably pop a game in. Let's see if I can put that speaker back on in the meantime. Right, speaker's back on. I should have just plugged in a little external speaker. I've got a Game Boy game. I'll switch on. Nintendo. And there we go. I can't press any buttons. Tetris DX in colour. Perfect. So, what do I need to do now? Turn that off. Pull that back out. Turn this power supply off before I short something out. And I need to have a look and see if I can see what's wrong with this screen. I'm hoping it's just dirty contacts. So I'm going to give them a good scrub. One new Q-tip. It's nice and clean. That doesn't look good. It's a bit too clean. I'll try. I had the screen to that. I've got a feeling, I've got a horrible feeling I had the screen in the wrong way. And no doubt some of you have been shouting at my sheer incompetence. But we'll try it in this way. And I'm an idiot. I surprise myself how stupid I am sometimes. Right, switch on. Yeah, I did. I had the screen in the wrong way. Excellent. Well, that means I can put that back together. I think I've got a spare, what do you call it? A battery cover. And I do. I think that's for a Gameboy Colour. It's going to fit, isn't it? Oh, you'd never know. It's a shame the sticker's gone. But that is a good result. Get rid of these. Don't need them. We'll clean up the flux off here. I had a capacitor, C39 I think, which I said was short. I think that must have been a bit of a red herring. A red herring. I'm not going to take the screen out and give this a good clean out. I'm just going to go around the inside of them buttons with a Q-tip. And I'm going to use a bit of Mr. Sheen. I've always wanted a yellow Gameboy Colour to go with my yellow Gameboy Colour battery cover, and now I've got one. Follow the voltage rail from the start. If something's not coming on, it seemed apparent that there was no short because the power supply wasn't taking any amps. So I should have just followed that from the start to the DC converter thingy-mabob, and then I would have saved myself a lot of time probing about looking for something that wasn't there. But that's hindsight. We can all do that when we eventually work out what's wrong with something. It's no good looking back and thinking, should have done that. I'm not going to spend too long on this. Is that it? I think that's it. Power switch. Don't want to leave that out. And I believe I've got 3 Phillips. Now, is that it? We'll hold that on there. Pop a couple of batteries in. We'll see if it comes on before I call it a success. And I'll find a proper Gameboy Colour game to test also. No, my screen's gone totally black. Now the screen's got a funny colour. What on earth? The game's on, but the screen is now not working. Well, I've got it in the right way. I'll give it another clean. Yep. Right, get the blooming screws in before something else goes wrong. Try wing number 3. So, if you haven't pressed like on my video, do so now please. Jolly good, thank you very much. I haven't finished yet. I'm hoping to have a look at this DC converter, find out if I can work out what's wrong with it. But I don't think there's a schematic for that. And I haven't got the same model to compare anything to. I think I said I paid £30 for this, which doesn't make it a bargain, but it does make a nice little video. I've got the Flintstones Gameboy Colour game. I don't know if it's a proper one, but it works. There's no sound, is it? Oh, there is. There we go. Down, and up works. A button worked there, B button works, start, pauses the game, so that works. Right, there's Fred. Okay, so that's a nice fix. I'm especially pleased about this fix because in the past I've bought 2 Gameboy Colours, both non-working. Both have been subject to quite a bit of water damage, and I've spent hours on these, going through them. I've had the chips off, they've had lots of trace repairs done, and both of them have beaten this. So eventually, at some point, you just think, well, I give in, there's too much damage. So one of them at least has came in useful for today with a working DC to DC converter. There's another one here. I'm pretty sure I tried both of them. So they are spare boards. I now know that this screen works okay. This little thing isn't working. Pin 1 is VCC in. So this is pin 1. And these are top 3 of my output pins here. These are ground. This one, no. One's no contact. And this one are ground. Can I connect a positive 3 volts and a ground and power this up? And then see if I can work out what's working and what's not working. Is that possible? I wonder if I'm getting any voltage on the outside, out of this. There's some corrosion here. Let's zoom in. Is that broken? I'll make that a bit brighter for you. I have a feeling that wire, there's a wire missing from there. Have I done that? Or is that what the problem is? It's going to be very difficult to try and fix that. But I would like to try to see if I can work out. God, that's tiny. There's a broken wire. I'm wondering if I can get a little trace on there to here and power this up. There's a broken wire from there to there. I'm not entirely sure. I cannot rule out the fact that I might have done it. I'm going to secure that down to the table and I'm going to try and get a small trace on it. Can it see it? There it is. Is that it? Oh, I've got a bit of solder on it. There it is there, glistening away nicely. If this snaps off, I'm knackered. It's on. There we go. Look at that. Shall we try that then? What did I say? 3 volts, negative. And then my outputs. Okay, excellent. See if this works. What do I want? I want 3 volts on. So I should have, I'll turn that on. So I should have 3 volts here. Yep. Let's see what I've got. Have I got any output on here? I do. 5 volts. And the middle one, 18. And that's a bit high. That might be a bit high. And this one, yeah, 16. That's a little bit high too. Couple of volts higher, but is that because that might be because it's not plugged into the system. So that is now a working DC to DC converter for a Gameboy Colour. I think it was just a bit of corrosion on the coil here. I cannot see that coming off again. I think that's a fix. I'd be quite happy to put that back into a console and I wouldn't worry about it coming off. So that's a very worthwhile fix. I've got a working Gameboy Colour. Even though I'm using a DC converter from another Game Boy, I've managed to fix the original one that was faulty. So not bad. All it needed after the fix was a battery cover. And that's it. I've got a video coming up about a Game Boy cartridge that took us 2 years to fix. So that's a bit of a strange one. I'm hoping to get a few more Game Boy cartridges, faulty ones, I'd like to get a few of them and make that into a bit of a longer video. I've got one to fix, and I've got one on the way to fix, but I could do with a couple more just to bulk up the video a bit. But anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to the eBay seller who sent this out, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.